I'll be reviewing the brand new 2022 Honda Civic Si. Now, as for the Honda Civic itself, it went through a complete redesign for this year using a new platform, much bigger, and there's many changes on the outside and inside. Luckily though, Honda decided to stay with its roots with this new Civic Si by still giving it a 6-speed manual gearbox along with 3 pedals. So that has not changed. However, if you look at other things, it has, but not for the better. For example, the price is significantly more versus last generation. Also, the horsepower went down for some reason, and you lose other features as well. For example, adaptive dampers, no longer on this Si, and you can't get the Si in coupe form either. So what is going on with this brand new Si? Is it an actual upgrade or a downgrade versus last generation? Well, I'm going to answer this question and more in this video. Of course, go for a drive and let you know how this Si is on the road and tell you everything else there is to know about this brand new Civic Si so you can decide if this is the right sports car for you. All right, let's get started. All right, I'm behind the wheel. Let me tell you more about this brand new Honda Civic Si and tell you more about how it drives. First thing I want to talk about is this new generation. I already reviewed the 2022 Honda Civic Sedan, of course, non-Si. And overall, I think Honda went in a new direction versus the last generation. And what I mean by that, well, it's clear if you look at the exterior look, Honda toned things down significantly. It's a lot more neutral and more vanilla versus the last generation. And I think that's because Honda wants to appeal to a larger audience. If you look at the lines, the front end, the rear end, the side profile, just nowhere near as aggressive as the last generation. But with that said, the new Civic Si doesn't look bad, especially with this blazing orange. It definitely pops. There's no way that you're not going to get the looks if that's what you're going after. If you look at the front end, it kind of reminds me of Honda Accord. It's not very bold. You do see a lot of black cladding underneath. You have slimmer, sleeker headlights with pretty cool daytime running lights on the top side, and you get some fog lights underneath, but overall it's not terribly aggressive. What really separates it is that Si badge. If you look at a side profile, more or less looks like a sedan. I do like how with the Civic Si, everything is blacked out. There's no chrome anywhere. Windows surround, the mirrors are black. Also with the Si, you get black alloy wheels. Looks right, and it just really matches. I like the contrast, you know, with, again, this orange paint color versus the black. I think it really stands out. Now, if you move to the back, well, you'll see dual exhaust tips underneath, so that's pretty good. Also, for the Si, you do get that black trunk lid, the little spoiler on top of the trunk, so that does stand out a little bit. Also, the huge tail lights for this generation, they're smoked. So there's few subtle differences to make this Si stand out versus a regular Civic sedan. And overall, like I said, it's not a bad looking car. It's just it looks way less aggressive than the last generation. So again, depends on what you're looking for. Now, as for the drive itself, well, this Si definitely drives different than a normal non-Si Civic sedan. First thing that you'll notice right away are these seats. Very, very aggressive. As soon as you open the front door, you'll see these beautiful seats, obviously sports seats. I love the contrast with the red stitching and with the red insert inside, right? It's not leather, it's a cloth material, but it does hold you in. It's very aggressive, but not overly aggressive. And not as good as, say, the Type R seats, but I would say these are an upgrade versus the last Si seats. So they're just a bit more sporty and definitely something that you'll notice right away when you sit inside. And it does give a different vibe to this Civic Si. And along with the interior itself, you can see there's a lot of red everywhere. Usually Si, there's a lot of red trim everywhere. It's no different with this generation. You can see the door panels, right, also have red trim and the red inserts. And on the center console, this brand new center console with this honeycomb kind of grille. Also, you have this red insert around, right? There's red stitching on the boot here. I mean, there's a lot of red inside. Now, besides the seats and the red interior, the other big difference is the 6-speed manual. It's a huge difference. With the automatic car, you know, you're just driving around. There's really no emotion. It's just a car that gets you from point A to point B. But gearheads will know, or just people that have driven a 6-speed before will know that it's just more fun, more engaging, and it makes a world of difference. It doesn't matter what kind of car, because even with a Wrangler, with a Bronco, even as an SUV, if you have a 6-speed manual, it just feels so different. You have total control which gear you want to be in, and it's just very different. So, of course, this makes the driving experience very different with this SI versus all other Civics out there and all other Hondas out there, because right now you can't find any Hondas with a 6-speed manual. With that said, Honda is a master at clutches and with gearboxes. So this is as good as the last generation. You can use 2 fingers to shift into any gear. You don't have to like jam it in there, right? You don't have to jam it into the gear that you want. And the clutch, I think it's a little bit harder than the last generation. Usually Hondas have really light clutches. So this one is a little bit harder than the last generation, as far as I remember. For anyone that wants an engaging drive, something that feels different, that won't make you fall asleep, well, take a look. Take a look at this SI. Acceleration's not bad. Not bad at all. Not the quickest car out there, but it's not bad. In terms of engine output, this is a 1.5 liter turbo engine, producing about 200 horsepower and about 192 pound-feet of torque. So on paper, this is 5 less horsepower than the previous generation. However, Honda said they tweaked it so that the torque kicks in about 300 RPMs lower. Okay, so you get max torque a little bit quicker, but you lose 5 horsepower. So do I notice it? No. As for the speed, it's about right. It's about the same as before. So I know that it doesn't look good. On paper, people are like, how could it go down in power? That never happens. Every generation, there's more power. So it's a little controversial, but let me just say this, you're really not going to notice it. And 0 to 60 comes in around under 7 seconds. I saw about 6.6 seconds around there, which isn't bad. Of course, it's not the quickest car out there. By being able to choose which gear you're in and being able to downshift whenever you want to, you know, it feels so different. It truly feels different than an automatic where you have to like just stomp it, and then you just, you know, you have to wait for it to downshift, and then, you know, there's a slight lag. It's just very different. You're in total control, so kind of makes up for that too. So if you're worried about that 5 horsepower, don't, because having this stick shift overcomes that. Now the steering, I think the steering improved. It's tighter, it's heavier. It makes you feel more like you're driving a sports car. And this is a normal mode too. You could actually adjust the steering. There's a drive mode feature, so you could go from normal to sport, or you can do individual, customize it, but there's only 2 things. It's just the throttle and the steering. But even in normal mode, it feels pretty good. I like it. It's very precise too. Besides the weight, very precise. Any little movement with the steering wheel, you'll feel it in the car, so that's really good. And I like this new steering wheel as well. Of course, there's red stitches on it, and the design has been modernized. So I like the way it looks. It's leather. I like the way it feels. Now, as for suspension, I think it's good. It's definitely firmer than a normal Civic's suspension, but isn't overly harsh. I think it works well in any condition, really. As a daily driver, you're going to be hitting some potholes, some imperfections, all that good stuff. I think it's handling it just fine. Unfortunately though, with this generation, you lose adaptive dampers for some reason. Honda decided to remove it, gave it traditional dampers, and you know, it acts fine, but I just wonder why Honda had to remove it. Probably due to cost savings. So that's the unfortunate thing. Now, of course, I've not driven this on the track, so I can't make a comparison between the two and tell you whether or not it really makes a difference. But you know, right now, around turns, bends, pretty good overall, no complaints. Now, speaking of daily drivers, can you drive the Civic Si as a daily driver? Yes, you can. I already talked about the suspension, the steering, the 6-speed manual, right? The seats. Everything is more sporty, but nothing is uncomfortable, and nothing will prevent you from driving this as a daily car. And I think that's the whole point. It's not nearly as aggressive as the previous, say, Type R, and the upcoming Type R, I'm assuming. This is right in between. So yes, you could definitely drive it as a daily car. And what also helps with that is the increased size. This new Civic Si is significantly bigger than the last one. And being a sedan, of course, you can haul people around. Right in the back, plenty of space. I'm 5'10", and you can see I have like 4 or 5 inches of legroom left. About 2 inches of headroom, but I definitely did not feel cramped in the back. It's an enormous amount of space in the back. Unfortunately though, back passengers don't get vents or USB ports. The vents is what I care about because today is a hot day. Sitting back there, no AC at all. So unfortunately, Honda cheapened on that as well. But as for space, you get plenty of it, which means as a daily commuter, if you want to haul your friends, your family, your kids, very good for it. And the trunk too. I mentioned about the trunk. It is absolutely huge. Huge trunk, and you can fold down the rear seats. So if you wanted to carry anything long, you can. Again, makes it very practical as a daily commuter. And inside is very quiet. Besides the exhaust note, which I don't mind because this is meant to be a sports car, it's very quiet inside. Very well insulated. Overall, this new platform definitely has its advantages. It does feel firmer, more quiet, more space, right? So yeah, overall, pretty good. Now, what other features do you get inside? Well, you get half of a digital gauge cluster. It's not a whole thing. This is pulled from a Honda Accord. I recognize it anywhere. But half of it is digital. And because it's an SI, besides the usual stuff like trip computer, navigation and stuff, you get some cool stuff. Like your boost gauge, you get a G meter, a stopwatch, and a few other little things here and there. So that's pretty cool. Half of it is digital. You do get a 9-inch infotainment screen. It is also pulled from a Honda Accord, I believe, but that's okay. But you know, overall, it's pretty good. I mean, Honda has used the same interface for a few years now. Pretty recognizable, big icons. You can't really misunderstand it. So that's good. With this Civic Si, you do get wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto, so that's new. That's a big addition, so many of you guys will enjoy that. You also get Wi-Fi in here, so that's also good. Usual stuff, and you still have a volume knob, which is also very important. Now, you do get automatic climate control, but only single zone, not dual zone. And you get some USB ports, but unfortunately, no wireless charger. No home link buttons, so unfortunately Honda skipped out on that, but you do get a sunroof, so at least you do get a sunroof in here, which is good. Now, as for pricing, this brand new Civic Si comes in right around $27,500, and the only option is summer tires. If you want summer tires, about $200 more, so $27,700 versus $27,500. So that's it. There's no other options, no other trim levels to choose from. So to conclude, let me answer that question I posed at the very beginning of the video, whether or not this Civic Si is an upgrade or a downgrade versus the last generation. Well, I think it really depends on what you're looking for. If you are looking for a more aggressive look, a bolder look, a younger, youthful look, I would say this is a downgrade. Even though you get eye-popping colors, you did with the last generation too, and I think the new platform just looks more neutral and vanilla versus the last generation. So from a looks perspective, I think this loses. But from an interior perspective, this is definitely an upgrade. The whole dash, center console design, way better. Get better technology. Infotainment screen is better, right? Wireless Android Auto, wireless Apple CarPlay, right? Things like that have been added. So I think from a interior perspective, definitely an upgrade. From a space perspective, also an upgrade. I already mentioned how big and roomy it is in here. So that's a big upgrade. But if you're not looking for space and you're more concentrated on looks and you definitely prefer a coupe look, a two-door look, well, then again, the last generation wins because you can get a Civic Si in coupe format, which is not available with this new generation. As for powertrain, the engine does have 5 less horsepower, so technically, if I had to rate it, well, I would say this is a downgrade because you got less power. But torque comes in a little bit quicker, and the 6-speed manual, I think it's about the same as the last generation. So really, I'd say the powertrain is about tied, neutral, okay? And if you're looking at suspension, well, yes, even though you lose adaptive dampers, but I think this is a really nice drive. I think overall, this is great. You get a really nice, tight feel, very little body roll around corners, and it's still comfortable around town. So I think the suspension is pretty good, tuned very well. And I love the steering. I do believe that the steering has been upgraded. I think the steering is tighter, more firm, and there's more precision. So I do think that steering was upgraded, powertrain's neutral, so overall drive itself, I think overall drive has improved as well. So whether or not this Civic Si is better depends on you. What do you think? Do you like this new Si better, or do you like the old one better? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And make sure you smash the like and subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for my future review videos. Take care. Bye-bye.